Tim Bennett here from the Cortland Voice, and I'm here with Herb Alexander from Cayuga Medical. How are you, Herb?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Okay, beautiful. You were recently hired, I believe, almost been a year, September maybe?
Yeah, September.
Okay, September of last year. And
Yeah.
you oversee diversity, equity, and inclusion at Cayuga Medical or Cayuga Health, correct?
Yeah, for Cayuga Health System. So yeah, for the whole system actually.
Okay, so
Yeah.
tell the community what your position entails and what your department does. Like break that down.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot. And so I think in the work or the industry of diversity, equity, and inclusion or belonging work, it's been booming as of recently. I would say it's been there for a while, but it's really been booming or had a microscope on it for a little bit of time. But it's unique in healthcare. So in healthcare, it's kind of like these it's two lenses that this work kind of falls or you can look through it from. So first is workforce development. So that's things like, internal talent acquisition. So trying to get, folks from a broad range of spectrums to come work for our organization. So folks with different backgrounds, who have different lenses, different skills to come work for us. And that's also things like community engagement, doing education, development workshops, those type of things. But then the other side of it is health equity work. And that's really all about addressing the fact that there are healthcare disparities for certain populations of people, right? Because so, long story short, there are certain groups of people who don't have the same healthcare outcomes as others. And when I say not the same, not as good, right? And so it's our job to come up with initiatives to address that.
Okay, so let me ask you this: in this first year, I know some of the things might have already been thought of, but you've made like action plans to it. Like in your first year, what are like some things that you've done, you and your team have done?
Yeah, so we've done a lot. And I think a good portion of it has been us working towards having better representation or better like symbolic representation around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there are certain things like, if are we being reflective and representative on our website? Do we have things that make people feel included when they walk into our building? So, for example, at our Schuyler building and at our Cayuga Medical Center building, we did something called the Wall of Flags. So, our employees who are international employees who were born somewhere else and now are here, we actually hung their flags in the lobby. And this is like a really cool display as people walk in. And so, not only for our employees to feel valued and belong, but also our patients, right? So we've done things around that nature. We just instituted a system-wide land acknowledgement, just honoring the fact that honestly, the indigenous folks who live in these areas and occupy the lands and waters were the original inhabitants, right? And so we state that before major events or meetings. So things like that are kind of like the symbolic pieces, right? The other piece, though, is more of the substance. So we did a system-wide assessment of where we are. And what we found was some of the barriers that we have right now is accurate data collection on our patients. So how do we know if there's disparities if we don't have the data, for example? We need to do more education and training for our staff and physicians and clinicians. And then lastly, we just got to engage our community more because some people are skeptical about what we do. And so we've been working hard to address that. And I think we've been seeing some, bearing some fruit from that recently.
Okay. I mean, I think that's amazing. But you want to know what else I think? And normally I do this before I ask the question, and that's my fault. I should have said this, but it still works perfect. Tell me about yourself. Like, where are you from? Maybe where you went to college, sports.
Yeah.
Say it. Tell us everything.
Okay, cool. Well, actually, great because who I am, where I'm from, and what I used to do kind of shapes what I am passionate about now.
Okay.
So again, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised in Detroit. I am a diehard Detroiter. Love the Lions, the sports, all that, even the bad teams, right? So from Detroit, and I actually moved to Rochester. I went to school there on a basketball scholarship. So I went and played ball at Roberts Wesleyan College. So that's D2, played there, and also coached there for a number of years, right? So I was our head assistant for our men's basketball team. As I graduated, got right into the space of kind of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And this before it became like a real industry, like a popularized industry. I was doing some of that work.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. I worked in different capacities. I was a director for multicultural student success, chief diversity officer. I was associate dean of students for a while, and yeah, so that kind of led me into a lot of the spaces that really, I would say, pushed me to valuing the importance of, diversity, inclusion, and whatnot, just in my life, because I got involved in that as a student, was doing that in my post grad, and then it just fell right into this work. So I kind of take all the things I learned from all of that, like schooling. I was going to be a teacher at one point, Tim, no joke. I was in school to be a teacher and I realized, like, man, that's tough. Like, it's a tough job. So I ended up not doing that. But all of those things kind of shaped to where I am now. Yeah.
You're still educating, you're still teaching. It just might not be
In the school.
elementary. It might not
Right.
be pre-K to 12. We all
Right.
should try to learn something every day. So I,
Absolutely.
I think that's amazing. Um, what are some things we should look for maybe in the future? Maybe, I don't know, within the next few months, it's still warm out, but it's going to be getting cold. Like, is there anything,
Mhm.
whether it's seasonal wise, end of summer, fall, back to school,
Yeah.
any things?
Good question. So we just hired somebody in our diversity, equity, and inclusion department. Julia Wrestler. She just started recently.
Mhm.
She's the manager for community health and engagement. And so things that folks can look for is we are going to take an intentional approach to engaging in the community. So that might look like on the surface level, at the bare minimum, things like, us doing health fairs and community events and all of those things. But at a deeper level, it's going to be us coordinating in a way that centers the voice of the people that we're actually serving and kind of using what we learned and what people say and what people want to shape what we do as a health system, right? And so we have people who really in our system have been doing that. Julie's going to add to that from a lens of looking at folks who have been kind of marginalized, but folks can look for some of those things, right? So that's kind of what we will be doing. Um, and again, Julia's going to be leading that charge.
Okay. And any closing word or closing thought on what final word would you give to the community? Like whether it be a closing word from yourself or on the lines of why people should choose Cayuga Health.
Yeah.
Your choice.
Yeah, I think so. Choose Cayuga is funny you say that. Like that's, you know, kind of like what we are branding and valuing right now. Choose Cayuga. But the reason why though, I think, well, first let me go back. At the end of the day, and I'm authentic with this. I think people are going to choose what's right for them and who serves them well, right? Who's giving them the best healthcare, and that's I think something that people should take serious and be intentional about, right? And so I wouldn't make a pitch for us. What I would say though is that we're committed to creating a space where people not only get high quality care, because we've always done that as a health system, but also get it in a way that values their complete identity, like who they are as a person. We're committed to doing that unapologetically. Like that's something that's coming from the top down, our CEO, all the way down to the folks who you might see when you register in an intake, right? So we're committed to that. So if folks want to be in a place, in a space that values them in that way, I would say we're not completely there yet, but we're marching towards that, right? And so that's what I would leave folks with. And because for us, DE&I isn't just something you do on the side. It's really a way of life, a way to exist, a way to operate. We're committed to it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, diversity isn't just something. Yeah, I did this today.
Right.
You live it. It becomes part of you in your
Yeah.
everyday life in so many different ways. Herb Alexander, everyone, once again, Herb, thank you for joining us at the Cortland Voice, and to everyone watching, thank you. God bless.